Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Superman issue 8. And this issue continues with further explanation as to what happened with Jonathan Kent, with young Jonathan Kent when he was with the grandpa in space there. We know that Lois and Clark nonsensically agreed that Lois and Jonathan would go with Jor-el to go space hopping one summer. And of course, Lois comes back, doesn't tell Clark she's back, doesn't even bother telling Clark that she's back and that she's left their young son with a crazy psychopath called Jor-el, who was his father, who was in fact Mr. Oz from previous storyline. Blah blah blah. Long story, complicated, little bit chaotic. But to top it off, last issue we found out that lo and behold, Jonathan Kent, he came back and he's 7 years older, and so. Clark and Lois, they miss 7 years of their son's life, and we get further, I have to say, ridiculous explanation for it in this issue. Unfortunately, I'm not happy with this. I don't think many people are going to be happy with this at all. This just goes to show just how bad this is getting, and unfortunately, it ends on a high note. No, this ends with the Crime Syndicate. But basically, it ends with Jonathan Kent. Jonathan, let me just summarize this for you, okay? Jonathan Kent, right away, within a few days of being in space with Jor-el, Lois decides to leave because she's such a great mother, and so then John's there alone with the grandpa. Within 5 seconds after his mom Lois leaving, he determines that Grandpa's insane, but they still have adventures together, and he feels sorry because he hurts Grandpa's feelings because Grandpa overhears him tell the Green Lantern Corps that he wants to go home to Earth, and so that was the summer that Grandpa never spoke to him. This is so bad. This is so stupid. There's also significant misses again on the dialogue by Bendis. There's some dialogue sequences that I have no idea what the hell was said. It didn't make sense. It's not how normal people talk. There's an expression in here. I have no idea what it means. Again, it's a minor stuff, but it's really, it's a minor thing. It's grating, whatever. But it ends on an interesting note. So it's kind of typical Bendis. There's multiple things that annoy me, and yet there are some things that really intrigue me as well. So I'm a little bit annoyed, and yet I'm kind of excited at the same time, if that makes any sense. And that's because it ends with John basically telling the story that, he's trying to tell the story. What the hell happened during those 7 years? Well, I think it involves a black hole, because it ends with young Jonathan and Jor-el being sucked into a black hole. And as they're being sucked into the black hole, his Grandpa Jor-el is telling John, "I'm sorry. Thanks, no problem, you psychotic grandfather." Anyways, that's what... He gets sucked into a black hole, and then when Jonathan wakes up, he's surrounded by the Crime Syndicate, by the members of the Crime Syndicate. And for those of you who don't know, the Crime Syndicate are basically opposite versions of the Justice League that exist on Earth 3, where basically everything good is bad and everything bad is good. So they're like an evil version of the Justice League. You got Ultraman, Owlman, and you got Superwoman, and oh, good lord. And then they have the corrupt and the power lantern, whatever that. Anyways, irrelevant. I just don't care. Let me put it to you this way. The Crime Syndicate's cool, but unfortunately, I don't know how they can exist, because we saw Darkseid War. So isn't Darkseid War in continuity? And if Darkseid War is in continuity, then how the hell is the Crime Syndicate showing up at the end of this issue? Superwoman is imprisoned, isn't she? She's imprisoned in the Justice League, in the Justice League satellite, or she was. Like, what's the continuity here? That's what frustrates me. I mean, the Darkseid War was awesome, but Ultraman was defeated. Owlman was killed. Owlman was actually killed by... At the end of Darkseid War, he was killed along with along with Metron in a blinding blue light, in a blinding ball of light. Anyways, but now he's around, so I'm not sure what this means. Is this the actual Crime Syndicate that from Darkseid War, or is this a new Crime Syndicate? It's a little bit maybe this is all misleading. I don't really. I guess we'll have to find out. It's interesting. It's cool. The art's good. Ivan Race on pencils has done a really good job here. Jonathan is telling his dad this story of what happened. So maybe this happened. This obviously happened in John's lifetime, but he went through a black hole. So maybe he went to a different universe, and so it's presumably it must have been a different universe. But it can't be a different universe unless it's a different multiverse he was in, on Earth 3, in a different multiverse in the larger omniverse. It's the only explanation I can come up with, because the Earth 3 in our multiverse was destroyed by Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor, basically in their war. In any event, but still not bad, somewhat intriguing. I'm not gonna focus on every little minute little detail here that sort of annoyed me here. Suffice to say, I was really disappointed. I could really feel, Clark. There's scenes here with the Green Lantern Corps. Again, just so much useless stuff. So much useless stuff. The dialogue here is so useless. So much of this stuff I just don't care about. Bendis is failing in. I didn't feel any of the. It didn't make any sense that Jonathan and his relationship between Jonathan and his grandpa. This is not a grandson-grandfather normal relationship. It just isn't, and it shouldn't be written that way. You can't. I'm sorry. You just can't. I'm not buying it. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit. It doesn't sound right. The dialogue's awful. The dialogue doesn't work. And the most poignant things here are, and the tragic things are, is that Clark has been deprived of all those years of his son's life, and that's if there should be 12 pages of that. Lois and Clark mourning over the loss of the years of their son, and they're not. The focus on this, the focus on what should actually be the focus if this were to happen, Bendis misses out on all of that. He doesn't get it, and it's very frustrating. And in any event, at least maybe we're going to get the Crime Syndicate in this issue. But overall, I got to give this a significant miss. Again, beautiful art, but a garbage story living up to it. And I'm sorry. I know I'm all over the place with Bendis, but this is a real significant miss for me. And hopefully next issue we'll get a decent adventure with the Crime Syndicate. But I got to tell you that if they're actually going to leave John Kent this old, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. It's a terrible idea. Leave him young. Leave him young. Undo whatever it is you want to do, DC, but leave him young, or de-age him at the end of it. I really hope that's what they do, but they're probably not. But in any event, guys, tell me what you think. Follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40. Hit the subscribe button. Until next time, Comic Boom out.